Hello, everyone. Um, I felt the need to kind of jump into this one without much, without sitting with the cards for very long. Um, I'm not really sure why. I think if I were to try to overthink this energy, or maybe you're in an energy of overthinking and you just kind of need to go more, um, I'm not sure. Let's just get into it. I felt the need to kind of like get that out there. Um, where you're at right now, you're at this new beginning. Um, I just did a reading talking about like the Fool card and how sometimes it can be kind of reckless and but there is a time for the Fool card, right? Um, and especially when it's in the upright position, right? It's not a bad thing. 111 as I looked up. It's not a bad thing. Um, it is very filled with like whimsy and being carefree and moving forward on this new adventure, right? And where this seems to be heading is some kind of balance, right? Some kind of balance. Um, with the Knight of Swords here as the best possible outcome, um, I would take this as inevitably you're going to find balance in this new beginning. Um, the Knight of Swords is definitely, especially in this deck, feels very much about confidence, right? Um, moving forward from a logically sound state, right? Um, from a logically sound state. Um, this Knave of Pentacles here, this is in the position of what needs to be cut out, right? Um, as I was pulling it, I felt like very feminine energy, and I kind of when this came out, I felt breadcrumbing, right? I heard breadcrumbing, so and I think this is directed towards you. Um, maybe you're playing a little bit of games. I don't know. Maybe you're playing a little bit of games. Um, the Page of Pentacles in this deck also talks about understanding concreteness, right? I don't. I don't even know if you're playing games intentionally. Um, sometimes it can, from a like wounded feminine energy, um, you can get into this pattern of giving someone a little to see if they'll still give you a lot, right? Like someone pours into you a lot and then you give them a little bit back to see if they'll keep still giving more or if they're gonna just match you, right? See if they're just gonna go bar for bar with you. Um, to see if they're gonna keep like pouring in heavy or if they're gonna pull back when they see you're not giving as much. Um, and with the King Chalices here, I'm trying to think of how to put this. I think like that giving a little to see if they'll match you or if they'll keep giving a lot isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think there's a certain amount of all of us that tests potential suitors, that test potential partners, that test potential friendships, right? Um, these are this is a thing that can happen very naturally. 10:01, as I look at the clock. This is a thing that can happen very naturally and over time, where you just kind of notice these things in people. Where like naturally throughout the course of you talking, right, it just kind of happens. I think this might kind of be part of what you're realizing, is that it isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? This could even be like, because the King of Chalice is like emotional maturity, right? Emotional maturity, competence, diplomacy, right? It's very much a very stable, grounding emotional energy, right? It's a very good energy. And the rest that came out here, we have the Tower, we have the High Priestess, 10 of Pentacles, and 10 of Swords. I think you are the Tower card is about revelations, right? I think you're moving into this more confirmation. You're moving into this more emotionally mature state, right? You're moving into this more emotionally mature state where you can realize that these like tests that people do, or these like this stuff is bred from a place of being hurt, of people hurting us in the past, of hurt childhoods, of, right? It comes from trauma. It comes from being hurt. It comes from people who shouldn't have been in our lives, right? And this is a thing that happens, and people do these things to protect themselves. And maybe you're stepping into this place of seeing how you do this as well, right? And you're just kind of... King of Chess is definitely about like seeing both sides too, right? With diplomacy, you have to, right? You have how you feel, but you can also see how the other person feels and how they could have gotten there. And you see how you got to your position. And with that, you can kind of you can just hold space for each other, right, in that capacity, and really understand where each other are coming from, right? And I think you're moving into that energy, right? Understanding concreteness. I don't even think you're necessarily giving up that like breadcrumbing energy, because I read this in a couple different ways depending on the reading, right? sometimes your intuition tells you something different about what the card means, right? And this one I heard breadcrumbing, okay? I don't even think you're necessarily like giving this up. It's in the position of what needs to be cut out. I think it's this idea that it's a bad thing always, right? There's a version of this, right, where you're doing that because you want them to give more than you have to give, right? You want them to give more than you have to give. Or you're trying to see if they're like trying too hard, if they're really desperate, kind of thing, right? And when you see that they're really kind of desperate, that's a bit of a red flag. Or you can see it as like, oh, I can take advantage of this person, right? Oh, they really want this. Well, let me figure out what I can do with that. Let me figure out what I can get out of them, right? Because they really want this. Or you see that and then you back off. I don't know. There's a lot of different scenarios where this like breadcrumbing energy is a bad thing, and it's manipulative and it's not cool, right? But there are situations also where it is a form of protection, and it's not to control the other person, it's to make sure that you are safe, right? It's to test the waters, it's to see if this is something for you, right? I think you're moving more into the space where you can understand that, right? With the Tower, new revelations, right? High Priestess, trusting yourself, right? Trusting yourself and your intuition, and keeping, kind of holding your own counsel, right? Holding your own counsel, standing in yourself, standing in your power, right? Ten of Pentacles, a very stable, grounding abundance, right? Material abundance, right? And then Ten of Swords is a kind of feeling trapped, right? Mentally feeling limited, feeling and it usually is self-limitation, right? It's holding yourself in this cage, right? And I really think with the rest of everything that's coming out, it's just that you're holding you're taking yourself out of that cage, right? You're taking yourself out of that cage, and you're trusting this new beginning, right, to take you where you need to go, right? You're trusting this new beginning to take you where you need to go. We're back. Long and short, right? During this new beginning, you're moving into a more balanced kind of state, right? This energy does feel a little bit unbalanced and a little bit all over the place. I think this is probably a very what's the hard time for you. Whatever, doesn't matter. This is probably a very hard time for you, which might be part of why Tower came out, right? This is kind of a hard a hard time, hard realizations, right? I think even you could just be realizing, right, that you've kind of stepped into this energy some, right? You've stepped into the like breadcrumbing kind of, and it maybe hasn't always been in a healthy way, right? But you're kind of releasing the shackles of your mind where you're releasing the like all or nothing kind of mindset, right? The all or nothing where it's either bad or it's good, right? It's about how it happens and how you show up in it, right? Um, yeah, yeah. And I see you're standing more in yourself and your values and how you see the world while allowing that allowing the understanding of other people's values as well, right? And how they got to where they are, how you got to where you are, and understanding how those different circumstances can lead to the kind of situation you find yourself in. Um, but yeah, in general, I would say the biggest piece of advice here is just kind of fall into it, right? Let yourself feel how you feel, process it, um, and just kind of find that place within yourself where you can forgive yourself, right? You can forgive yourself for whatever you've done that doesn't necessarily align with your values as they are now, or never aligned with your values, but you didn't realize you were doing it, right? Because that stuff happens. We're people, right? We're not always conscious of what we're doing. We're not always, not in a way like you don't remember, completely different thing. I'm saying not conscious in a way that you didn't know that it was harmful, right? That you didn't realize what you were doing was harmful, that you didn't realize what you were doing you actually don't like, right? Or you didn't realize the reason that you were doing certain things, right? A great example is like with like people pleasing tendencies, right? A lot of people like they do those things and it's very natural and it happens, but they don't realize they're doing it to like impress this person or to like get on their good side or because they feel like they have to keep the peace, right? They don't realize why they're doing it. They just do it, right? It's not until you really sit with it and break like the shackles of your mind and where you can really understand where those things come from and why you do them, right? So sit with yourself and try to find out where these things come from, right? Try to understand where these things come from and really sit in that. All right, I'm going to end this one here. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it helps you. Later.